So we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 8th chapter, 31st verse. I'm just starting now. So we have been discussing Kunti Maharani prayers, and in the last verse we discussed that, I'll read, Kunti was saying that, my dear Lord Krishna, your activities and your birth is bewildering. That's what she said. Why? Because you take birth. You appear to take birth, but you never take birth. You appear to do activities, but you are not bound by those activities. So, and then you appear as in various forms, in various incarnations. So, and she says, this is very bewildering to me. Now, Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the next verse, Kunti Maharani says, especially, what is bewildering to me is the pastime of Damodar Leela. That's bewildering. Can you just, I don't know, how should I say it? You can just, yeah, and so the pastimes of Yashoda is, Damodar Leela is very, very bewildering to me. Why? Because Kunti says, my dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense. We all know. Gopi adate tvai kritagasi dam tava. Dam means binding. And what did you do at that time? Yate ashru kalila anjana. There were tears in your eyes. And anjan means mascara. What's that? Kajal. And that sambhramaksham, and those tears were actually wiping off all the kajal. And sambhramaksham, and your eyes were perturbed. Prabhupada says, your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed massacre from the eyes, mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. And the sight is bewildering to me. Now this, Prabhupada mentions few points in his purport. Why this pastime is so important? Out of all pastimes of Krishna are bewildering. Krishna lifted Govardhan hill on the little finger of his left hand. Is it not bewildering? Or maybe Krishna killed Putna when he was just 3 months old. Is it not bewildering? So there's so many. Krishna married 16,108 wives, queens. Is it not bewildering? That's the most bewildering. Krishna was dancing in Ras Leela, and he was dancing with 16,000 gopis at one time, and he expanded himself into 16,000 forms. Is it not bewildering? That's all bewildering. So why this pastime? So because this pastime is special, and that is why in Kartik month we glorify this pastime, and we specially pray to this form of Lord. You can sit back if you want. So especially we pray. Why? Because there are certain points in this pastime, and the most important point is, actually Kunti is relating this pastime now, specific pastime, and there's a comparison between Kunti and Yashoda. First point. And Prabhupada writes that Kunti is bewildered by this pastime, but Yashoda is not. Yashoda is binding Krishna. So what's happening? Why is it like that? And that is why Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami specifically chose this pastime through Kunti, not independently. So why Kunti is bewildered and Yashoda is not bewildered? Because Kunti, this shows that Kunti is in Aishwarya Gyan, but Yashoda is not. In the other words, Prabhupada says, Yashoda is in pure Vatsalya, pure Madhurya. Kunti's love is mixed with greatness of the Lord. But Yashoda's love is devoid of greatness of Lord. The energies of Lord have made, Prabhupada writes, Krishna has made Yashoda forgot this point that he is Supreme Lord, to relish his pastimes, childhood pastimes. So, but not to Kunti. So what does it mean? This means that it is not in our hands to choose Madhure, Aishwarya. That's not our business. That comes from Krishna. If he wants to relish his pastimes through us in form of Madhure, he will make us forget that he is God. If he wants to relish his pastime with us in the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will not make us forget that he is Supreme Lord. So it is not that we'll forget him as Supreme Lord Krishna and we'll start loving him, just like Vrindavan people do. No, ये तो हमारे वहाँ के बिहारी हैं, ये तो क्या कहते हैं, कान्हा है, नंदलाल. They are saying from their own imagination, their own idea, but this is not happening here. So Krishna is making them forget. So Krishna is demanding service from his devotees. Krishna, it's his will. It's his will. He can use anybody in any way, in any service, to increase his pleasure. And in the process of increasing his pleasure, we feel pleasure. That's the idea. So some people argue, what is our original form in spiritual world? It's like, so I went to Vrindavan many years back, and there was one American. He was standing on one leg. That's what happened. He was saying, I'm a peacock. He was practicing like this. So I thought, so he said, my guru told I'm a peacock. So I'm practicing. But then if you think about that is sense gratification. It's not like your guru tells you or you yourself know who am I. It's not like that. Krishna will choose. And there's a saint, Surdas. Everybody knows Surdas. He was singing in a song that, my dear Lord Krishna, whatever department is free, you put me there. That's all. Wherever you need service, you put me there. If you need service as a grass, then make me grass. If you need service as gopi, then make me gopi. So that's the idea. We are not the chooser. Chooser is Krishna.
Siddha Sarup this.
Yeah, so Krishna chooses everything. We have to be dependent on his will. We have to fulfill his will. So his will for Yashoda is that she should not be bewildered by these pastimes. And she should actually punish me, and I want to relish pleasure through Yashoda like this. And his will with Kunti is that she should not forget that he is God, and she should be bewildered, and I want to see her being bewildered, and I will relish that pastime. So he's Rasik Shekhar, he wants to see so many things, different reactions of devotees, different feelings. And Rupa Goswami begins Nectar of Devotion like this. He is Rasik Shekhar. He enjoys all rasas. And in the process we enjoy that. So that's one point, that's a very important point Prabhupada makes in the purport, by which we can actually defeat this philosophy that we have to forget that he is God and behave as if he is our own. He's our own, like we are his associate. It doesn't happen like that. Whenever he wants, that will happen. We have to continue serving him. And another point is, Kunti, he says, Bhaya bhavanaya bhirapi yad viveti. Kunti says that even fear personified fears you. So she is, and yet she is bewildered by seeing Krishna having fear. Now why it is like that? This shows that Krishna is not acting as if he is in fear. He is fearing. And actually Prabhupada says that some people say that he's acting, he's fearing. He's acting, he's doing his pastimes, he's weeping, so he's acting. No, that's wrong. If he was acting, then Kunti would not have been bewildered. So Kunti is a pure devotee. She knows that he is God. By this statement, even fear personified fears him. This is pure Aishwarya Gyan. But yet she is saying, I am bewildered. How can you have fear from Kunti? If he was acting, then there was no bewilderment. Tam atyanta vidambanam, she says. It's extremely bewildering. How do you do that? How, first of all, you can be bound by Yashoda? And then second, you are crying like a child. And third, you have fear. And yet you are the Supreme Person. She can't understand that. It's even beyond our understanding. So Krishna is really, in true sense, he is having fear. He is weeping like a child. And how does it happen? Krishna makes Yashoda forget that he is God. Krishna makes himself forget that he is God. That's what Krishna is doing. Krishna forgets he is God. To relish these pastimes, he forgets. Or his energies make him forget. Yogmaya, that's a function of Yogmaya. She is subservient to Krishna, and her Yogmaya's job and Vrinda Devi's, their job is to make Krishna's pastimes relishable. And this is very important point. To make Krishna's pastime relishable, they have to be very attentive in their service. No, if you want to make a devotee's life, if you want to give pleasure to devotees, you have to be attentive to their service. What do you need? This, no, just like we are staying here and okay, you are asking what do you need, Prabhu, and this, all these things. So they are extremely attentive. And the point to note is, in the service of Krishna, they can make Krishna forget that he is Krishna. Okay. So, what I was saying, I just got stuck up in between.
Yogmaya and Vrinda Devi.
Yeah. So in the service of God, in the service of God, they can make Krishna forget that he is God. This is a beautiful. This is actually is a beautiful concept. That means you can do anything in service of Krishna as long as it pleases him. You can even make him forget he is God. That's a funny service, no? Actually, once Prabhupada was sitting, I think when movement started just in beginning, so he was sitting on his Vyasasana, and there were few people, just few devotees there. And I think, who was that? I think Jamna Mataji or somebody. They were all young people at that time. So Prabhupada was sitting and there was a photograph of Krishna there, up. So this Mataji, to actually, and that photograph was tilted like somehow it was about to fall. So she got up on the Vyasasana, on this. Prabhupada was sitting. Mm-hmm. She stood up on the Vyasasana, and she was trying to do that. Yeah. So Prabhupada, you know what Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, if you want to hold this photograph in a correct position, if you want to make it correct, you can even stand on my head. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to stand here? But that Prabhupada says, Prabhupada was not offended, and on the other hand, Prabhupada said that use me in service of God. For service of Krishna, you can stand on my head. But for selfish motives, no. So for service of Krishna, you can do anything, and that is pure devotion. And that is why this Rupa Goswami says, and Prabhupada quotes that verse, in the service of Krishna, especially in Vrindavan, Laukiki Vediki Chapiya Kriya Kriyate Munai Hari Seva Nukulieva Sa Bhaktir Ya Bhaktir Ichchata. That verse goes that for making Krishna pleased, a devotee may follow social norms, he may not follow. A devotee may follow Vedic regulations, he may not follow. You can just surpass all Vedic regulations and focus on service of Lord. That is Vrindavan. Otherwise, how do we explain that friends of Krishna climbing on his shoulders? He's God. Purna Brahma Sanatanam. That Sukadeva Goswami says. He's not even God. He's Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's above Vishnu, Ram. He's Avatari. He's not Avatar. Purna Brahma Sanatanam. And that's why Sukadeva Goswami says in Bhagavatam, there's a very famous verse to prove that Krishna is Avatari. He's not Avatar. And that verse in 10th canto, it comes, Aho punyam, aho punyam, aho bhagyam, aho bhagyam, nandagopa kumarakam. You see, so these, Sukadeva Goswami says, these friends of Krishna, and they are so fortunate that they are playing with Purna Brahma Sanatanam. They are playing with Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they are climbing on his shoulders. They are sometimes beating him. So what's happening? So they are doing this for giving him pleasure. Krishna wants them to do this so that he attains pleasure. Krishna wants Radharani to scold him so that he gets pleasure. That's the idea. But he doesn't want us to scold him. He wants them. He chooses. We don't choose. Otherwise, that's not spirituality. That's a very important point in this pastime, which we have to understand. The second point, that for the service of Lord, we should be prepared to do anything. That's one point. Actually, anything. If it gives pleasure to Krishna and devotees. And that is why the definition of pure devotion Rupa Goswami gives. What is the definition of pure devotion? He says, Anukulyena Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam iti bhakti uttama. So these two adjectives he puts. What is Uttam Bhakti? Uttam Bhakti means which is beyond modes of material nature. Uttam. Tam means modes. U means beyond. So what is beyond modes of material nature? That kind of devotion means pure devotion. What is pure devotion? What's the definition? Two things. Anukulyena and Krishnanushilanam. So Anukulyena means that is pure devotion where the mood or intention is favorable to God. Favorable means the intention is to please Him. First symptom. And Rupa Goswami says Anukulyena, not Anukulyena. And there's a difference in Sanskrit. Anukul means only in actions. Anukul means in action and in emotions, both. So A means full dimension. From emotions to actions. That is A. Anukul. A is bigger, no? A is A. So A means only action, one thing. A includes everything. So our emotions and actions both are directed to Krishna for His pleasure first, and second is action, and second is Krishnanushilanam. Anukulyena, Krishnanushilanam means actions are in service of God. Anushilanam, chesta, for His service, not for anybody's else service. And then it becomes pure devotion. So sometimes we might be doing some actions which are devotional, but it might not be pleasing. That's the point. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we might be doing arti of Krishna, but it might not be pleasing to devotees. So that's not pure devotion. That's wrong. That's what neophytes do. That's what new devotees do. They do for Krishna, but they forget they are devotees, and then it's not pleasing. So suppose, for example, Vishwanath Chakri Thakur raises a doubt here. And he asks us a question that, okay, if you want to make some prasad, what do? Do you see Krishna likes this, or do you see devotees like that? How do you choose? What do you do? What is pure devotion in this? If you what do we do?
Devotees, because Krishna is more pleased and devotees are pleased.
So it's always, if you are very intelligent, you can choose something which Krishna likes and devotees like, both. But if there's a choice, then always go for devotees. If they like, you can offer to Krishna, but devotees means devotees, not hanky-panky and hanky-panky. They say, we like chow mein, so and that's the problem. We like ice cream. Then you can't do that. So devotee means devotee. So then at that time, because we understand that this point, that pure devotion actually includes everybody, Krishna and His devotees, that is directed to them. And so that we have to do service in such a way so that it gives pleasure, not in such a way that it displeases everybody. So in temples generally it happens. In household life you don't experience this, but in temples there are so many brahmacharis. So generally you are doing some service and then somebody doesn't like 2-3 devotees and you offend them, and then whole mood is upset. That's not the way to do things. You have to serve in a method in which you please him. So you have to choose the service, and you have to apply your intelligence to do in such a way that it pleases them, not in such a way that it displeases or everything becomes neutral. Then that's not a good way. And that's the second point which Rupa Goswami is teaching by this pastime, that for service and his pleasure we should be ready to do anything. And the third point, which is very important, which Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning here, that Kunti is not only bewildered that Krishna is fearful, but she is also bewildered by the fact that Krishna comes under control of Yashoda. So how can Yashoda bind Krishna? Krishna, who can liberate everybody, his very name can liberate, and today Yashoda binds him. So that's technically called a prem vashikar. He comes under the vash of love, and that's what Krishna wants. He relishes that, and he wants to show to this world that I am bound by love, and not by the love of Kunti, by the love of Yashoda. This type of love where dash. How do you feel that? The type of love where dash. What type of love? Just fill in the blanks. I just told you.
Where she's not looking at him as a god.
Where she's not looking him as a god. Do I accept this answer?
Or like Kunti.
माता और पुत्र का जो संबंध था इस वजह से
selfless love. You have to qualify more. Okay, do we accept this answer where she is not looking Krishna as God or mother and child? Do we accept this? Exactly not, because the Prabhupada told her that she is not choosing to forget that he is God. Krishna is making him forget. So, only when Krishna wants. So from her position, her love is from her perspective, it is not she is choosing to forget Krishna. So that love is a different type of love. When you direct that love to Krishna, then Krishna makes you forget that he is God. So that love cannot include that you forget him. No, it is not from side of Yashoda.
Right.
So then so how do you fill that blank? What type of love it is? You cannot fill that you forget Krishna, that he is God.
Causeless.
No. Are you understanding the point? No. You love him in such a way so that he makes you forget he is God. So that love doesn't include this component of forgetting God. You understanding? So then what kind of love is it? That's the question. You getting my point? You getting? You can't include forgetting Krishna in this love. You cannot include that. Because that component is coming from Krishna. It is not coming from Yashoda. So,
as a devotee?
No. There's particular love. What kind of love? That's what you have to figure out. Spontaneous is a name, just to hide the answer. If you don't know the answer, then you can say spontaneous. No? If you don't know the answer, you can say spontaneous. But what do you mean by spontaneous? That's the idea. What do you mean by spontaneous?
Everything is Krishna. Her focus is always.
You have to fill a specific word. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Okay, so what kind of love? A love. Oh, she was about to answer? I don't know. Okay. So a love where service attitude is most intense.
Okay.
That kind of love can bind Krishna. Her service, all Vrajvasis, the service attitude is so intense that they are ready to do anything for Krishna. Just like Narad Muni says, Krishna is having headache. She asked gopis, can you give your dust of a lotus feet? Nobody gave. Everybody is afraid. Gopi says, no problem. We are ready to go to hell, but take it. So that kind of, they are ready to do service of Krishna in any form until it pleases Krishna and makes him happy. So that kind of love if we have, then we can bind Krishna. Otherwise, no. And when we direct this kind of love to Krishna, Krishna will then make us forget that He is God. Then He'll do that and take us to Vrindavan. And that is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so when in Mayapur they were building this temple, so at that time all these workers, they were like very lazy. So present Gaudiya Math, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. So they were very lazy and they were not doing. So Bhaktisiddhanta asked why, what's happening? So because they were telling, because they need time to make the bidi. At that time you don't have shops, you're making bidis. So Bhaktisiddhanta said, no problem, I'll make for them cigarettes. Let them drink and complete the temple. We need temple to be completed. So that's very unusual, sannyasi making cigarettes, and giving them cigarette. But for the service of Krishna, because this temple was very crucial, it had to be built as soon as possible to establish the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya as a bona fide in that place. So for that he did that. Okay, go do it. So that is that kind of love we need. A love where there is no fear to transgress Vedic injunctions. That kind of love. A love where there is no hesitation to leave all social norms. That kind of love. Gopis didn't hesitate to leave the husband. Krishna played flute and gopis ran to him. No hesitation. What will elders say? What is going to happen? Just forget. Just what society says, forget it. And Brahmana's wife in Mathura.
Yeah,
they actually overruled all Vedic regulations. There was a Vedic regulation before Yajna. You can't offer this food to anybody. Just forget this Vedic regulation. Krishna is there.
But how did that intelligence come to them? Because they were not.
How did that come? Because Prabhupada writes, because they were their husbands. They were reading Vedas, but the intelligence didn't come. But because they used to hear about him being in Mathura. So
they knew that he is God.
They used to keep on hearing about him. And Prabhupada says, just by hearing about him and chanting his names, they became pure. So how they used to hear? Because you see that fruit vendor, that fruit wali, that female, she was going to sell fruits in Vrindavan. So there were many people who used to go from city Mathura to villages to sell products, and in fact take products from villages to sell in city. That's even now. So people used to come from villages to Mathura. So these Brahmana wives, they used to talk to them and ask, what is Krishna doing? And they used to then relate pastimes. Krishna lived with Govardhan, Putna. Simply by hearing all those pastimes, she became pure. They became all pure. And they could understand that for Krishna's pleasure, they can transgress all Vedic regulations. It's not easy to do all those things, but nevertheless they did that. So that's another teaching which this pastime is helping us to understand, that if we want to bind Krishna like Yashoda, or we want to follow in footsteps of Yashoda, then our love should be intense. And intense means that there should be no hesitation to break all social norms, and there should be no fear of transgressing Vedic regulations. to please Krishna, if that is required. This means intense. Otherwise, if we say intense service attitude, then what do you mean by that? That's another thing. No, you should be intense. Just like in ISKCON, people say you should be sincere, extremely sincere. Okay, so what to do? What do you mean by sincere? Like, okay, so I have 24 hours and I'm doing best possible things. So what do you mean by sincere? Should be, but then it doesn't make any sense. No, for me it doesn't make any sense. So you have to quantify. You have to tell what do you mean by sincerity, and then we'll do that. So intense. Tivrena bhakti yogena. That verse is there. Bhagavatam verse. Tivrena bhakti yogena jayeta purusham param. Sukadeva Goswami says Tivra bhakti. Maharaj told you. So what do you mean by Tivra bhakti? And you have to figure out. It's Tivra means, okay, Tivra, now what to do? Tivra means that Laukiki Vaidiki. In the service of Krishna, no question of social norms. We are ready to break all social norms, all social ties, if required. Forget it. And all Vedic regulations we are ready to overrule for the pleasure of Krishna. That's Tivra. That is Tivra. And how do you, and how do we get that intelligence and that courage to do that? That's the question. That is by chanting holy names, by hearing about Him, and of course by following rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are designed in such a way. One of the rules regulations is chant daily, That's designed in such a way like that. And to hear Bhagavatam daily. What Brahmanas wife would do. So if we keep on doing that, slowly we'll get this courage and intelligence to do this. How to do this, we'll understand. So that's these 3 things, 3 points which actually this pastime helps us to understand. Most crucial points, this is what is pure devotion. So the first point was, let's anyway revise. The first point was, what was the first point? The first point was okay, for the pleasure of Krishna, a devotee can even, what was the first point? Anyway, you can read and see the lecture. I just forgot. I forgot the sequence. Yeah, I just can't put it in words. But anyway, one point is that if you bind to Krishna, you should have intense service attitude. And second point is that to please Krishna, you should be ready to be able to do anything. And third point I forgot. You can just have a look. Anyway, so this is a beautiful pastime, no?
Yes.
It's a beautiful pastime, and that is why if we understand this pastime, we can become pure devotee. So Damodar Leela, Damodar month. That month is named as Damodar. Entire month. And I used to wonder, why actually this pastime is so important. And this is first canto, starting. And through Kunti, Sukadeva comes. He comes through Kunti to give a contrast. If Kunti cannot bind, Yashoda can bind. Then we can really understand what's the dynamics. So Bhagavatam is starting with pure devotion and demanding pure devotion if you want to continue further. Otherwise you can't continue beyond 8th chapter. It's there. You don't understand, stay here. Otherwise you will not be able to understand anything. So that's Atyanta Bindamanam. Oh, it's already 1 hour. So any questions, by the way? Let me take some questions. Any questions, and then we'll stop here.
You can ask on the call also.
Yeah. So
You can ask on the call also.
Yeah, any questions on the call? Anybody? Prem Bashikar.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So this Tivra Bhakti, you said that ready to do anything for Krishna, even breaking social norms.
Yeah.
This, what I'm finding now with, the gopis leaving their husband and coming to Krishna, that was something, really socially unacceptable those days.
Yeah.
But now the norms and the thing is changing so much. It's Kali Yuga that they are doing it now.
No, you don't have to compare that social norm now.
Now it is easy.
Now leaving husband is more easy. Yeah,
my question is,
anyway.
when we do the Tivra Bhakti, breaking social norms, that is, wouldn't we dilute that? And many, you had also said that Apa Sampradayas came out.
No. I understand your point. We can't just break social norms for a selfish purpose. That's the point. To please, now the point is, we have to please Krishna in such a way, he wants to be pleased. And that's another point. You can do his service in a pleasing manner, but in a pleasing manner, in the manner in which you think he's getting pleased. But then you don't please anybody. You have to find how he wants to be pleased. And there's an example for that. It's a beautiful example for that. So I was reading somewhere, one of the devotees, he prays that Krishna, if I fall down, then you please help me in a way which pleases you. So it's not that if I fall down, please help me to reinstate in devotion and whatever. No, in a way which pleases you. And this means that if you fall down and if Krishna wants to correct you, he might correct you in a way which might be painful to you, which you might not like. But that might be pleasing to Krishna. Because he knows that this is beneficial for him. It's not that he wants to torture us. But it's just like parents, they want to, sometimes they beat them. Now you don't do that. But you might have experienced in our childhood, like our father, they used to beat us sometimes with belt. It happens?
Yes.
Sometimes they were like, it was very bad that time. Like you can get, sometimes they used to like throw us, like and slap us. It was like that. But they like that? No. Because after beating us, then after some time, same father comes and he weeps and he says, sorry, I did that. But they will do that because they know that is beneficial, and that's why in the whole picture, it is pleasing to them because which children are becoming good and moral, is it? So Krishna might help you in such a way which is pleasing to him, but that might not be so liking to you. That's the idea. So, if Krishna, you're pleased to make us fall down, make us fall down. That's all. If you're pleased that I leave devotion, then make me leave devotion. Who's going to pray like that? That's
simple way. You just have to accept what's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's the idea, and that is what mood of gopis is. That is what mood of gopis is. So that's what we have to understand. If we want to break social norms for pleasure of Krishna, you have to understand how he wants you to break social norms, not how you want to break social norms, but because then it will lead to apasampradayas and wrong religions and like so many institutions, they don't follow any rules and regulations. If you go to Vrindavan, they'll say just love Krishna, no rules, regulations, people like that. That's nonsense. Krishna doesn't want us to break social norms in a way that we leave all rules and regulations. No. So Krishna tells in scriptures what social norms you can break, what social norms you cannot break. For the pleasure of Krishna, we can't start drinking wine. Okay, it's so pleasing to Krishna, and you have to know what he wants, how he wants. And that is why we need to read rules and regulations. That is the book of rules and regulations. This is your limit. This you can break, this you cannot break. Beyond this limit you cannot go. No trespassing. So all these things, that is why devotion can be done by intelligent person. Not only intelligent, but trained people. You need training for that. Not just intelligence, is it? So trained people know exactly how to do. So people who are trained in making a house, they can make a house. You can also make a house, but after some time it will get spoiled or something will fall down. They exactly know fine details, what to do, what not to do, that stability, that tensile strength, the wind pressures you have to also look. There's so many things. We will not even know what to do. So, and also the basic foundation which has to be there. You can't alter. But some things you can alter to make design. So everything knows. So that is what is sadhana. Sadhana is to become mature in this. How much we can go, how much we cannot go, how much we can break. So do you understand the point now?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna. So any questions? Otherwise, we're going to stop here. Just it's finished now. I think it's an overdose now. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much to all of you. Hare Krishna. Well, you can just.
Hare Krishna.
Who are there?
Kripa sindhu